This is the map of the US. Highlighted in red is Colorado, the Centennial State. Highlighted in blue is the Colorado River, flowing out of the state into Utah, Arizona, Nevada, and California, and into the Mexican states of Baja California and Sonora before emptying into the Pacific Ocean. Having been a mainstay of the economies of the states it passes through, scientists are alarmed as to how fast it is drying up. But that is not the only thing bothering scientists, as the dried-up riverbeds are exposing terrifying things. But how did the Colorado River enter its dire straits? The Colorado River carves a special path through American cultural history. For over 12,000 years, the river has been an important source of water and life for Native American groups, launched the business and adventure of modern river running, honed the political capabilities of the environmental movement through battles against dams in the United States, and proved inspiration to notable American painters, photographers, songwriters, and authors. And another reason the Colorado River is important is how with time it has carved forces through the Grand Canyon, telling the story of the Earth's formation and structure like few other places on the planet. By taking a closer look at this magnificent river, we can learn a lot about the nature, culture, and history of the Grand Canyon and America as a whole. The Colorado River has carved through nearly 2 billion years of Earth's geologic history at the Grand Canyon over the last 6 million years. The Grand Canyon's rock sequences are made up of layers of limestone, sandstone, shale, granite, and schist. These layers have been eroded away by water and wind erosion, resulting in the cliffs and slopes that make up this fantastic play of shape and color across time and space. The Colorado River is impeded by two of the most popular dams in the US. The Hoover Dam and Lake Mead were completed in 1936 at the canyon's lower or southwest end. The Glen Canyon Dam, completed in 1963, is located near Lee's Ferry at the upper end of the canyon and creates Lake Powell. The arid southwest cities and farms rely heavily on the Colorado River. The Colorado River exports more water than any other river in the United States. Cities such as Los Angeles, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Denver, San Diego, and many others rely on Colorado River basin water for municipal and industrial purposes. Furthermore, water from the Colorado River keeps 2 million acres of land irrigated. The length of the Colorado River is approximately 2,330 kilometers or 1,450 miles. In its natural state, the Colorado River poured approximately 20.1 cubic kilometers or 16.3 million acre-feet into the Gulf of California each year, with an average flow rate of 640 cubic meters or 22,500 cubic feet per second. However, thanks to its drying up, the once mighty Colorado River has become the most regulated and litigated river on the planet. Unlike other natural problems, the problem of the Colorado River can be traced back to a 100-year-old miscalculation. The river's flow has decreased by about 20% since the 1900s, and the two largest reservoirs it feeds are only about a third full. Lake Mead, the nation's largest reservoir, has dropped more than 150 feet in the last 2 decades, leaving little water for more than 40 million residents that depend on the river. The dwindling amount of snow and rain is one of the reasons why the Colorado River is shrinking. The West is in its 23rd year of drought, which, according to research, may be the driest period in the last 1,200 years, exacerbated by climate change. Then there's the sheer number of cities and farms sucking away that water. Approximately 3/4 of all the water consumed by humans from the Colorado River is used to irrigate farms, which supply nearly all of the nation's winter vegetables, among other things. But one of the main reasons the Colorado River is running out of water has to do with math, bad math, which is why you should pay more attention in your high school math class. Water in the Colorado River was divided among the 7 states that relied on it 100 years ago, including Arizona, California, Colorado, Nevada, New Mexico, Utah, and Wyoming. The Colorado River Compact Agreement was based on one critical number: the total amount of water that the Colorado River can supply annually. Officials claim that the river could provide about 20 million acre-feet per year, despite the best science available at the time. An acre-foot is the amount of water required to fill an acre with 1 foot of water. That figure was far too high, implying that officials promised states water that did not exist. They had conjured up a Colorado River that was larger than nature could provide. The river's problems in the 21st century are the unavoidable result of critical decisions made by water managers and politicians who ignored available science at the time. In the early 20th century, the US Geological Survey dispatched a man named Eugene Clyde LaRue to attempt to measure the Colorado River. LaRue began to notice that there were some severe droughts beyond the time horizon that we had been measuring the river for a couple of decades actually. In a 1916 report, he concluded that the river is subject to severe droughts on timescales ranging from 10 to 20 to 50 to 100 years. It does not simply remain wet and full. The Colorado River Compact negotiators required this information in order to figure out how to divide up the river and decide who gets what. They required science, but they worked together to solve the problem without LaRue. They put him on the bench. They disregarded his scientific findings that there had been severe droughts. Instead, the negotiators looked at a much more recent period of time that had been unusually and extraordinarily wet. They claimed that the river had enough water to support all of these farms and cities. They simply ignored the science because it wasn't convenient for them. In hindsight, the promise of a large amount of water facilitated political negotiations. You could divide the river and tell each of the 7 states, you want to irrigate a lot of acres? There's plenty for you. You want to pump a lot of water across the California desert? There's plenty for you. They didn't have to have difficult decisions about what life would look like with limitations. Negotiators believed and worked with up to 20 million acre-feet of water flowing from the river each year. LaRue's figure was closer to 15 million, but today we know it is only 12 million thanks partly to climate change. The difference is what is causing the woes on the river. The Colorado River's water levels are at their lowest in a century. Scientists are concerned that the reservoirs into which the river feeds will reach dead pool levels in the coming years. When this happens, it means the water level would be too low to allow water to flow downstream from a dam or to drive turbines to generate electricity. The generally accepted level for this to happen is 895 feet, and this is apart from the reservoirs being critical for the supply of water in the surrounding area. And it's not just water supply for humans. The river and its tributaries support more than 70% of the region's wildlife, including birds such as the California condor, southwestern willow flycatcher, yellow-breasted chat, sandhill crane, and summer tanager. The future is not looking good for this river. At Lake Mead's edge, you can see lines in the rock walls that are as distinct as bathtub rings, indicating that the water level is much lower than it once was, some 130 feet lower in fact, since 2000. Some of the reservoirs fed by the river, according to water resource officials, will never be full again. According to geoscientists, climate change will likely reduce the river's flow by 5 to 20% over the next 40 years. Less precipitation in the Rocky Mountains means less water in the first place, so droughts will be more severe, and higher overall air temperatures will result in more water evaporation leading to lower water levels. The river has come to represent what happens when we ask too much of a limited resource. It disappears. In fact, the Colorado River no longer reaches the sea on a regular basis. Invasive plants like salt cedar and cattails have taken over the delta, a landscape of seemingly endless mudflats where forests once stood. And as fresh water has dried up in the Gulf of California, shellfish, shrimp, and waterfowl populations have plummeted. Now, while the environmental implications of the Colorado River drying up are massive, the discoveries that are coming up from the riverbed are shocking. Take, for example, the area under Lake Mead. Between May and August, the remains of 5 people were discovered in dried-up sections of the lake. U.S. National Park Service rangers reported human skeletal remains at Lake Mead near Colville Bay. The Clark County Medical Examiner collected the remains to identify the person and determine a cause of death. However, according to the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, the discovery came a week after the decayed body of a man was discovered stuffed in a steel barrel near the reservoir's Hemingway fishing pier, more than 20 miles from Colville. Police believed it was a homicide case, and the victim was killed in the 70s, judging by their clothing and footwear. However, for the second body near Colville, there was no reason to suspect foul play, at least yet. The gruesome discovery was made by 2 sisters, Lindsay and Lynette Melvin, who said they were paddleboarding on the lake because, thanks to the Colorado River drying up, the water was too shallow for snorkeling. The sisters told ABC affiliate station KTNV in Las Vegas that they discovered the skeletal remains while exploring a sandbar that used to be underwater before a prolonged drought reduced the water table to historic lows. The sisters initially mistook the discovery for the remains of a bighorn sheep, but they then discovered a human jawbone with teeth still attached and reported it to National Park Service rangers. The sisters grew up in Las Vegas and heard stories about mafia hitmen dumping bodies in the lake. According to Jeff Schumacher, a mob historian and vice president of exhibits and programs at the Mob Museum in Las Vegas, the discovery of the bodies, particularly the man found in the barrel, has reignited those rumors. Another discovery is the remains of a US bomber that crashed into Lake Mead many decades ago. The plane, a B-29 Superfortress weighing in at 104,556 pounds, took off from China Lake, California, and traveled to a test area near Lake Mead to conduct high-altitude atmospheric research on July 21, 1948. The pilot and co-pilot believed they were 400 feet above the lake's surface, but the altimeter was reportedly inaccurate. Around 12:30 p.m., the B-29 crashed into the water and sank to the bottom of Lake Mead, where it still lies today. On board were Captain Robert Madison, First Lieutenant Paul Hessler, Staff Sergeant David Burns, John Simmeroth, and Sergeant Frank Rico. All of them survived. Let's hear what you think of the Colorado River in the comments section below.